welcome, mourners. You are listening to Dirge of Mourning. We are your hosts, Andrew A. Graves and Terabella Thorne. And we've got a little surprise for you guys on this episode. We're going to take a little break from doing what we normally do, talking about singles that have come out from bands, or discussing what pretty much is funeral doom. In this episode, we've decided that we're going to give a little bit of a background in how we got started with funeral doom.
Here you go. So, would you like me to say something about how I started, or do you want to go ahead and say a little about, you're much more proficient in it and more, you've been listening to it for a lot longer than I have. It might be interesting to hear how you started listening to this genre of music.
That's the thing I've been trying to rattle my head around. Like, how long have I actually been listening to this motherfucking genre?
Let's hear it.
But it isn't. I've probably been listening to it for a good,
10 years?
No, a little shorter, maybe 6 or 7.
Oh,
6 or 7.
All right.
And when I first got introduced to it, it was kind of like an on and off thing because I was exploring other types of doom as well, so I got a better understanding of what this whole subgenre was about. And I came across this one song that just blew me the fuck away.
Well, what band and what song?
The song was called For These Wounds, and it was by the band Funeral.
Oh, okay.
So I heard that, I heard the big chunky guitar riff at the beginning, the pounding of the drums, everything just sounded bigger, better than anything else that I was listening to at the time. See, what I've always got to remind myself is I started off listening to what most people do, in terms of heavy metal, thrash, death metal, black metal, all that kind of stuff. I'll even admit to listening to new metal and rap metal. As a teenager.
Well, it's good. It's good to explore and listen to all kinds of music, and then you can determine what it is you really like.
Well, see, this is the thing. I was always looking for a genre that fitted what I wanted music to say, and it took me a while to come across doom metal, where my first inclination into that was a band called Celtic Frost.
Oh, yes, I've heard of
with Tom G. Warrior as the lead singer.
Yes.
And for the life of me, I can't remember what the album was, but I do remember it was close to the ending of their career, before they reformed and called themselves Triptychon. And I heard that album I think I was about 13, 14 when that album came out.
Oh, wow, goodness. You were a very young baby.
Apparently so. And this thing just, I didn't know what the hell to do with it. It was dark, it was creepy, almost had a genuine sadness to it. And you've got this guy basically just screaming at you with all his pain, and I'm like, okay, the fuck is this? And the thing is, I didn't have any words to what was going on. I got this thing on a fucking MP3 format from a friend who downloaded it for me. That's how long ago that was.
Yeah.
When downloading fucking pirated CDs was a thing.
Right.
Unlike your streaming services today.
Yeah, streaming. So, what appealed to you the most? The content, the sad content, or the sound? Or maybe both?
Well, on the journey that I took from going in and out of the doom metal scene, it was more about the lyrical content. When I would read over the lyrics, the words that they were using I'd never seen before. These words were all unfamiliar to me, especially when it came to words of for funerals and mourning and grief and death in and of itself, because a lot of black metal and death metal and stuff like that, sure, they talk about death or dying, but not in the same way that a doom band would. for example, a death metal band might say, "Oh, I am ripped apart and I'm in agony and my blood and guts are everywhere." A doom metal band might go, "I can see the darkness crawling around as my breath is slowly taken from me." A lot more somber in tone, right?
Yes.
So that caught my eye, and plus, I'm also a huge fan of Edgar Allan Poe.
Yes.
So when I would see lyrics that were almost kind of like his, I was fascinated. So over the years, I would slowly go back and forth between different genres, until I said, you know what, fuck it. I'm gonna see what all this doom is. Like, why is it such a small genre?
Yeah, unfortunately it is. But
When one of the very first heavy metal bands basically created that style and more or less did 2 phenomenal albums with it.
Who are we talking about?
We're talking about the one and only Black Sabbath.
There you go.
So they basically, of course, in case anyone didn't know, they invented every heavy metal style within the first 3 albums that they ever wrote. So, you've got all of that there. So the first doom band, like I said, that I got back into was Celtic Frost, now renamed Triptychon. And I instantly fell in love with their song Shattered. I thought that was just a beautiful concept of storytelling and heartache, and just the sound fitted almost like this Giger-esque landscape. It was very cold and isolated, and I thought this was the greatest thing on earth. So I rushed out, I bought the EP, the album when it came out, I bought the second album when it came out, was so infatuated with this band, I thought there's nothing that would ever touch it. And then I stumbled across, yet again, the band Funeral.
Yeah.
And that one album. And I listened to it and I was like, fuck me, that's still got to be some of the heaviest, sounding metal ever. Yes, Triptychon, great band in their own right. I still enjoy them to this day. I kind of wanted where this music was going. It was longer, it was more somber in tone. Every word that the guy said was just painful for him to speak. And I was infatuated with that idea of, okay, he is living the words. He isn't just singing them to you in a melody that sounds kind of sad or, is to invoke that emotion. This guy is literally in pain saying this shit.
Right. The singers in Funeral Doom do seem to take on that pain into themselves, at least from what I've noticed and what I've listened to. And that appeals to me as well.
Well,
so, go on.
After finding that band, there was another band that I came across. Now, I'm probably going to butcher this name. I think it's pronounced Atomnia, but I'll put up a graphic so people can see what the hell I'm talking about.
Okay, good.
So I listened to this band, and immediately I thought, yeah, I want more of this. Sad, funeral dirge type of music.
I mean, at that point, did you know that it was called Funeral Doom?
Oh yeah, I had looked up some of these bands and what the genre they were supposedly in and stuff like that. Done a bit of research at the time to find out what other bands would be interested in to look up, and eventually I did get around to looking up those bands. But I basically listened to their entire discography at the time and decided, okay, what's the next band that I want to check out? Because I need something that's going to keep me interested enough, and it has to have a decent range of bands. So I basically just typed in Funeral Doom into YouTube.
Good idea.
And it gave me this giant list of bands that were very confusing to me at the time. I was like, what the hell have I got myself into?
Yeah.
I couldn't determine, my asshole from a hole in the ground at that point.
Right.
So I just clicked on fucking everything.
Yeah.
Needless to say, the majority of it at the time really wasn't what I was looking for.
You like a very specific kind of Funeral Doom.
Well, You could say specific. I tend to go along the lines of, its namesake. It's Funeral Doom, not something something Funeral Doom plus. It's Funeral Doom. Any other caveat that deviates from that, as far as I'm concerned, it's not really Funeral Doom. But that's a topic for an entire discussion later. I came across one other band I didn't expect to actually enjoy.
Okay.
That band was the band Loss. The vocal style was a bit too much for me at the time. I thought, he was trying to eat the fucking microphone. And I'm sitting there going, okay, what the hell's going on? So I looked up the lyrics to see if there was anything salvageable. So I have the lyrics in front of me and I stick the album back on. And I'm going through it and I'm starting to go, wait a minute. I know now why it sounds this way. It sounds like the guy is trying to hold back tears. And I can see why, because when I'm reading the fucking lyrics, I'm like, oh shit, that's hard-hitting stuff.
With the talk about the lyrics, you're bringing up a really good point, because a lot of people, I believe, don't really look at the lyrics to the albums they listen to.
I don't think most people do.
And I do think that in Funeral Doom, it's very important.
I would agree. I think it literally makes up at least 95% of what Funeral Doom is the lyrics.
I mean, even though the lyrics may be short,
that's usually the case, yes.
You have the main core of exactly what the song is all about within the lyrics. So the music lends itself to the lyrics, or I should say maybe this way. The lyrics define what the music is going to be.
Oh, absolutely. This is why when I came to that epiphany myself while reading the lyrics, I understood why the music and the vocal style sounded the way it did. I started to realize, holy shit, this is actually what I've been looking for. I finally found a genre of music that actually captures what I enjoy. As morbid as that may sound, ladies and gentlemen, I do enjoy walks in cemeteries. Give me a funeral any day. Fuck your weddings. And yes, I do dress in black. What of it?
See, your reasons and my reasons are quite different. Some similarities, but
well, okay, fine. You could wear a pink t-shirt and still listen to Funeral Doom, okay? No one's gonna crucify you, but fuck.
Well,
but no, in all seriousness though, when I had realised what it was that I was starting to get into and enjoy about this music, I then started to look up bands that had a sort of similar concept of mourning someone's loss. Then I came across this band that really put me on my journey to Funeral Doom.
What band?
That band is quite a controversial one within Funeral Doom, because some people say it is, some people say it isn't. I'm gonna put my stamp of approval and say it is, and that is the band Clouds.
Absolutely.
Read their lyrics. It's all about mourning. Every last ounce of what that band is nothing but Funeral Doom.
I love them.
They are an awesome band. They really are.
I love
the fact that their whole sound, I personally believe, is basically the sound of what happens after the wake. You're home alone.
Yeah.
These are the sounds that you create in your head after you're grieving someone's loss.
Yeah, I mean, I can picture even a particular video that describes that perfectly. I can't think of the name of the song right now, but yeah, definitely.
So these few bands at the time kind of got me started down this path. And oddly enough, the lead singer from Clouds, I found more music that he made. Turns out the guy is pretty much well into the Funeral Doom scene. I found one of his older bands, which I absolutely adore. Again, gonna butcher the name, so don't crucify me, okay? I think it's pronounced Dios
Oh yeah, Dios.
I think that's how
Yeah.
it's pronounced.
Yeah, I
Again,
think it is too.
again, I'll put up an image so everyone knows what the hell I'm talking about.
That's good. Yeah, so they can see the spelling of it.
Aye. So basically, I listened to those two albums that came out from that band, and I was just like, yes, finally, I found a sound that I like, music that lasted as long as I wanted it to. Like it didn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah.
Unlike, say, a Metallica song, where it's like it just goes on and on and on and on, and you're sitting there going, for fuck's sake, fuck off already. And I had lyrics that actually had a meaning, rather than made up mythological, like, pseudo Satan crap from like a black metal band or horror movie garbage from a death metal band.
Yeah.
Right? Or some political nonsense that I didn't give two fucks about by some right-wing thrash band.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't have any time for that. I found solace in these lyrics from these bands.
I think that's a really good word to use, solace, because this type of music really can make you feel a lot.
Oh, absolutely. I would rather, like, I'm a great believer in music should make you feel something. If you don't get an emotional response from listening to any piece of music on the planet, if it doesn't do something for you, I would seriously go and see a professional psychiatrist or something.
Yeah.
Go see a head doctor, because
music definitely has a profound effect if it is speaking to you.
Right, and it's also the same for
music. Really can change your life.
Oh, absolutely.
I've actually had that experience. So.
Oh, me as well. Again, I would probably say if I didn't find Funeral Doom, I would probably be quite a depressed prick. Which is, of course, ironic, right?
For you, it's almost like a release of your own emotion through the music.
Of course.
Yeah.
I get why people would want to listen to angry death metal, because it gets all their anger out, or black metal because it gets all their, disillusions about religion or what have you. I get it. But for me, I found the perfect catharsis in Funeral Doom. I was able to release whatever tensions or anxieties or what have you, and let it all go, and just let my mind wander to, this nice graveyard. It's foggy. And envision what a music video would be like for this song. And I had not a care in the world.
Yeah.
As weird and cheesy as that sounds.
No, it doesn't. Because I think that's what music should do, actually.
It should take you to another place.
Yeah, take you to another place. I mean, in the strange way, that's entertainment.
Right?
Well, I watch movies that are like that all the time, so.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? We listen to music for entertainment and escapism.
Yeah.
So why not take full advantage of that, regardless of the medium? Mine's just happens to be this particular format. Speaking of which, now I've got over 100 bands that I listen to. And no, I'm not going to sit here and name all of them, because we'd be here until next year.
Yeah, you don't need to do that.
But yeah, that's just a small snippet into how I kind of found myself, going down this path. But one of the things I will say is the bands that I now listen to mainly have the most Dirge-like quality to them, for various aspects anyway. One band that I listen to, Rise to the Sky, they tend to take more of the metal element, a bit more serious in Funeral Doom, by using a sort of fast tempo near the end, the climaxing of the song, whereas the beginning is usually very soft, melancholy, and very downplayed, typical sort of like Funeral Doom pacing, of the beats being, spread apart, stuff like that. Then there's like Frowning, who is just as far as I'm concerned, perhaps one of the better writers in terms of like lyrics Another band I would say.
Not going to disagree with anything that you've said about these bands. This is perfect. Keep going.
Another one is going to be Mistress of the Dead, for again the lyrics. They're just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I think the atmosphere of that Mistress of the Dead is just fantastic. I think it's exactly the atmosphere that I'm looking for.
Exactly. Another one is going to have to be Skepticism, for its just overall use of both what a funeral dirge is and what heavy metal is. They combine that perfectly, I would say, followed by Shape of Despair.
Oh wow! When I get to talk about mine, we know what we're going to talk about.
Well, would you like to start yours then? Would you like to talk about how you came into this realm of, I don't know, shadows and tombstones lit by candlelight and a bunch of people crying in a corner?
Totally different than yours. I'm completely different than you. I came to music quite late in life. What I mean by that is all I ever listened to when I was growing up and when I was a young mother were things like pop radio channels. So I really didn't know much about music at all. I didn't understand genres until I had a son who became involved in music, and I would hear him listening to something when he was like a young teen through into his 20s, and I would say, "What is that? Tell me what that is." And so I kind of got a little bit of an education about metal. And then when I joined a few groups, music groups on Facebook, and I was just listening to everything because it was all so new to me, I found myself attracted to what I believe is called atmospheric black metal.
The ambient stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. Yes, I liked it. So I would listen to this stuff, and I did enjoy it, but the first actual funeral doom band that I just fell in love with was Shape of Despair. And it was one song. I think it's called Quiet These Paintings Are.
Yes.
And it's from like years ago.
Oh yeah. It is an amazing song.
Yes, I came across it and I started to play it. And I started to listen to this song, and I'm not understanding really the use of death growl yet.
Okay.
I had heard it many times. I had heard it in black metal songs and various songs, but when I came to this song, I could not stop listening to this thing. I pretty much had it on replay constantly.
I bet your finger was sore after a while clicking that repeat button.
At that point, you could actually put replay. I don't know if they do that anymore, where you could put replay and just hit it.
Oh wait, yeah, I remember when YouTube had that feature.
You could play it over and over. You didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, I remember when they had that feature.
Before ads and...
Yeah, the good old days.
Yeah. So this was the first actual funeral doom band that I listened to. Now, I came across different ones, not knowing the term funeral doom, not knowing that this was a genre. I just was naturally listening to some of this stuff. I didn't pinpoint it until I met you. Then you put the name to it and you described and defined, and then I went on and listened to all of these different bands and became enamored with this genre. And still to this day, Shape of Despair is probably my favorite band, and others that I love for various reasons. The aspects I like about funeral doom, yes, the lyrics are wonderful and beautiful and define to me a certain thing that we think about, and that is actually the moment of death. We think about also lost loved ones. So we have those things that are in common with all of us, none of us really knowing exactly what that's all about. And I think that's the mystery and the beauty in funeral doom. We're trying, we're trying to pinpoint and define. It can be a very a grief-stricken moment. It can be a beautiful moment. It can be a somber moment. It could be even a joyful moment. It can be a very confusing moment. We have all kinds of descriptions and definitions of this in these songs.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Another band that I came across pretty early on before I met you was Clouds.
Uh-huh.
And I liked them because I'm coming at this perspective also maybe from a little bit more of a, I don't know if it has anything to do with gender, but the female aspect, possibly.
Well,
I'm not saying that that's a defining thing about the type of music I like, but...
Well, if you want to, we could maybe touch on that quickly. The poetic nature of the lyrics. Would you say that that is more appealing to you because of your femininity?
I think that could appeal to anybody.
Because that's why I enjoy it, and I don't think that that's a very feminine thing.
No, I don't think that that's specifically feminine, but what I'm saying, the type of music that I listen to, the type of funeral doom that I do listen to, has a little bit more of perhaps lyricism and a little bit more of a melodic feel. The other aspect I like is the use of operatic women's voices, which doesn't happen in a lot of funeral doom, but there is enough of it out there that I've found. And I also like the more orchestral, I like a lot of use of strings, things like that really appeal to me. I come from a classical background, from ballet, so I put that with this, and to me it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. This is why having you as a co-host also, from that perspective of like the orchestra, essentially.
Yeah, the classical sound, the symphonic or classical sound. And the other thing I want to say about funeral doom that appeals to me that no other music, well, I shouldn't say no other music, some other music does. I do like some, like gothic doom and stuff for this reason as well. There is a certain level of intelligence in this music that you're not going to find in all music. You cannot be
dim-witted, shall we say?
Yeah, a vapid Dumbo.
Right.
And listen
you have to be. I would say you'd have to be.
You're just not going to get it. You're just not going to understand it.
You have to have at least a little bit of intelligence, a bit of an education,
a little bit of depth, because we are talking about emotion and feelings and undisclosed moments that are going to happen to all of us.
And sometimes these moments are very private moments that these bands are sharing with us through their music. So it is requiring, a bit of understanding, maybe a bit of compassion as well.
Yeah, a certain sort of empathy has to go with this. I mean, if you are not that type of person, this type of music probably is not going to appeal to you, which is fine. There are many people that make up the world, but
I'm more of a fan of it being underground than, mainstream.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, me too. These are the things that appeal to me. So, yeah, the bands that I gravitate toward are Shape of Despair, Clouds, Aphonic Threnody, early. What else do we listen to? Rise to the Sky, When Hearts Wither,
Helllight.
And I actually do own many CDs that I've picked up rather quickly. I mean, this genre just has taken over my music collection, and I'm glad that it has, because I just love it.
Isn't it kind of funny, because on the creation of this podcast, we used to sit and listen to these albums and discuss them before recording what our thoughts were.
Oh, yeah. One thing I want to say about funeral doom that people may not realize is that it is very, very sad, somber, depressing music. But that doesn't mean the person listening to it is a sad, somber, depressing person. They might be, they could be, and maybe it helps them get through something. But I am generally a bouncy, happy, smiling person. I don't dwell on death all day long. I like the music because it just gives me something. It actually does calm me down and give me a sense of peace.
Well, that's why for me, like, yes, I know I dress like a goddamn zombie. Okay, I get it. But for me, again, I'm generally a happy-go-lucky type guy.
Yeah, I
Don't
would
really
say
have much of a care in the world.
I would say, yeah, pretty average,
easygoing.
stable things that you do throughout your life.
Right.
So
I don't sit around moping around going, oh, it's a funeral.
no, not.
I'm not a teenager. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that there may be people who listen to it for that reason. However,
I don't think that's the majority of people.
I don't either. I think it's too complex and beautiful and well put together type of music that, I mean, the music itself appeals to me as well. Not just the lyrics, but the music, the sound.
Well, see, that's the other thing, isn't it? The music element is done by people who are essentially geniuses. They understand how to write a piece of music that can touch someone's, emotions, or if you want to get super soppy, their heart or their soul. Or for like both of us, it's that intellectual spark as well. Of here's like each note is like placed specifically for a reason. There isn't a note wasted.
Out.
Yeah.
As I've said on many of our podcasts, it's well thought out, well planned out music.
Absolutely.
But they're complete compositions.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a little weird
like pop song, basically.
Yeah, we're not. We're talking about very good musicians making very good music.
Yeah. And I would put it up there with these guys must have some form of like great understanding of not only
some form of training. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And understanding of like classical music and the heavy metal stuff. To be able to bring those things together and then to constantly be on top of that with every album that a band puts out is usually going to be either just as good or better. Because one thing I've found is it's very rare for me to listen to a Funeral Doom album and go, that was utter garbage.
Yeah.
It's been very rare. The most I've seen is maybe a couple of songs just didn't do it for me. But that didn't take away from like the other like 3 songs that were like great.
Right. I mean, you're not going to love every single song.
Right. The whole concept is, it's entirely up to the individual what sparks them the most and what they get out of it. But, aye.
So I think that gives a pretty good understanding of where we came from to this kind of music and why we love it.
What can I say? It's the best music genre ever.
It's the best music genre ever. I agree. Wholeheartedly.
Well, mourners, that's gonna do it from us here at Dirge of Mourning. We've been your hosts, Andrew A. Graves and Terabella Thorne. And remember, every day is a funeral.